Just 35 kilometers off the coast of São Paulo, Brazil, sits a 43-hectare rock rising from the Atlantic. While it looks lush and inviting from a distance, the Brazilian government has legally barred almost every human on Earth from setting foot here to protect them from the island's true owners. Researchers estimate there are between 2,000 and 4,000 highly venomous snakes packed onto this tiny landmass. That's an average of one lethal snake for every single square meter, turning every rock and tree limb into a potential kill zone. Humans once tried to claim a piece of this rock. In the early 20th century, the government built a lighthouse to guide ships away from the jagged coast, tasking a keeper and his family with its maintenance. They lived in a state of constant siege, keeping doors and windows bolted against the thousands of predators just outside the glass. According to the local legend, that barrier eventually failed. One night, snakes breached the lighthouse windows under the cover of darkness. The family woke to a nightmare, suffering multiple bites before they could even reach for a light, let alone an exit. When a naval supply boat arrived the next day, the crew found the lighthouse doors swinging open and supplies scattered. Bloodstains streaked the floor, but the family had vanished. Following the incident, the lighthouse was automated and the island was surrendered to the snakes. It is a gripping horror story, but the official Brazilian records tell a different tale. There are no death certificates for this keeper or his family, no naval incident reports, no police investigation files. The total absence of a paper trail suggests this massacre never happened. It raises a difficult question. Why would a terrifying legend be allowed to circulate for decades? And who benefits from a myth that keeps the world at a safe distance? To understand why that legend is so effective, you have to look at the primary suspect. This is the golden lancehead viper. It is uniquely lethal, and it exists nowhere else on Earth. About 11,000 years ago, as the last ice age ended and sea levels rose, this landmass was severed from the Brazilian mainland. The snakes trapped here faced an immediate crisis. Their usual ground prey disappeared, leaving them with nothing to eat. Their survival depended on hunting migratory birds that briefly rested in the canopy. A snake cannot track a flying bird if it survives long enough to take off, so nature forced a brutal evolutionary shift. The golden lancehead developed venom 3 to 5 times stronger than its mainland cousins, capable of paralyzing a bird in seconds. In humans, this venom causes catastrophic internal bleeding in the brain and kidneys. Simultaneously, the toxins begin digesting living tissue around the bite. This process, known as necrosis, causes the flesh to literally rot and melt away while the victim is still alive. Nature created a flawless killer, perfectly suited to the nightmare of the lighthouse legend. But while evolution explains the snake's lethality, it doesn't explain why a ghost story would be used to mask the island's true value. Beyond the biological threat lies a massive financial one. There is a high-stakes global black market for exotic reptiles, and the golden lancehead is one of its most coveted prizes. Private collectors and illegal research labs pay staggering sums for these vipers. On the underground market, a single live specimen can fetch up to $30,000. Wildlife researchers suspect that smugglers actively fueled the lighthouse massacre myth. By amplifying stories of a blood-soaked island, they ensured the general public stayed far away, leaving the poachers to operate in total isolation. This legend creates an invisible corporate firewall. With the government restricting access for safety, smugglers have a private, unguarded warehouse of biological gold, free from the prying eyes of tourists or frequent naval patrols. The value of these snakes extends into the highest levels of medicine. Their venom contains specific protein chains that allow scientists to develop life-saving treatments for heart disease. This chemical signature that melts human tissue and stops hearts is the molecular foundation for modern blood pressure medications. The liquid that kills is also the liquid that saves. This pharmaceutical demand has triggered a wave of unregulated looting. Poachers have descended on the island in such numbers that the golden lancehead viper is now officially classified as critically endangered. At current poaching rates, this population is unsustainable. If the illegal trade isn't halted, this lineage, which survived for 11,000 years in total isolation, could face total extinction within the next 2 decades. The original lighthouse legend claimed that snakes were the invaders of the human world. In reality, the roles are reversed. These animals are being pulled from their only home and sold into a black market that values their venom more than their survival. Snake Island stands as a reminder that even nature's most efficient apex predator is vulnerable. When a species' only defense is a reputation for terror, human greed will always find a way to turn that fear into profit.